So, when we're cornering and it's a flat turn, an off camber turn, or a turn where traction is not that good, such as this nice sandy corner we have right here, that's when it's paramount that we drop that outside foot, because it's going to give us a lot more traction by putting our weight above our contact patch. Look right now, all my weight is on my pedal, and you can see my tires flexing because all my weight is on my tires right now. If my feet were level, 50% of my weight would be on this inside pedal. And if you look where that pedal is, it hits the ground about where my foot is. Look how far inside of my tire that is. That means there's no weight on my tires and my bike's just gonna disappear. So when you're concerned about the amount of traction and you wanna rail that corner, almost like an ice skater or a ski racer on that ice, railing that turn, so as we get the goal of cornering is always exit speed. So if we rail that turn without the tire sliding, we're going to have a lot more exit speed. Greg Minnaar is so good to watch do this. Amory Pirion also. If you don't know who those two guys are, they're two of the best downhill racers in the world. And you can type in their names on YouTube and find some great videos of them cornering. So when they're cornering at speed and they're concerned about the traction, they both, and so do pretty much all top World Cup downhill racers, they drop the outside foot, and then as the bike leans over, and I'll talk about how and why the bike leans in a little bit, but as the bike leans over, their weight stays on top of the bike. And they do that by dropping the outside pedal. That also allows me to keep my outside leg relatively straight, using my skeletal structure to support my weight in this corner. With your feet level, you're kind of doing a squat, and as we know, squats are tiring, right? So if you're gonna ride all day, you don't wanna be squatting all day. You wanna save the squats for those really rough parts of the trail where you need to be able to absorb all that shock. You don't really wanna waste that squatting energy when you're in a corner. When traction is at a premium, we're gonna drop that outside foot to give us the most traction and stay above our bike. Notice you can think of your belly button when you're hinged over, or the crack of your bottom. Notice that's beside my seat. Usually it'd be directly above my seat. It's beside my seat, it's over my bottom bracket. All my weight is over my bottom bracket, keeping weight on my tires. And that's one of the biggest goals with cornering, is to create the traction. And we do that with our body weight. We weigh a lot more than these bikes, and we have terrible traction on a mountain bike. This is not road motorcycling where I've got an 8-inch wide tire that's made out of sticky rubber, and I'm on pavement that's been swept of all the sand particles. I'm in gravel, loose sand, mud, much more slippery surfaces. So I need to create that traction by dropping my outside foot and staying above my bike. So my bike leans over in the corner, but I stay above the bike. You just saw me go through this corner. And if you noticed, at this very beginning, it is part of the corner and it is a bend. It does change direction. But if you notice, it's not very tight. It's very gradual. And actually, after it bends a little bit, it kind of goes straight into this sand pit. So through this rougher area that has a bunch of rocks and where I didn't need to lean the bike much, I kept my feet level with basically equal weight on both feet. And then as I hit the smooth but also loose and sandy spot where the majority of this 90-degree turn is, I dropped that outside foot so I could lean the bike over but have my weight on top of the bike. And if you noticed, even though I was going fairly fast for this tight of a corner, I didn't slide 1 millimeter. And had I slid, though, I was in such good position that if I slid, it probably would have been a controlled two-wheel drift with the bike sliding towards my body. But anytime you're drifting your tires, you're scrubbing a little bit of speed. If you watch someone like Greg Minnaar, what he's so amazing at is picking the right amount of speed for that corner. Because if you watch Greg, and I've had a lot of my students say this, even to Greg when he's been my assistant coach, he looks kind of slow. He's not the most exciting rider to watch, and that's because he's doing everything nearly perfectly. And when you're doing everything nearly perfectly and you're completely in control, it kind of looks like anybody can do it. You know what I mean? It looks easy. But he finds that perfect speed, And the announcers, when you listen to the guys at the World Cup, talking during Greg's run, they'll talk about that. They're like, man, he doesn't look that fast, but oh, look at the split time. He's up by 1/10 of a second or 3/10, But it's because his incredible ability to figure out what the exact speed for this corner is and go right at that speed. Any faster, he would slide and scrub speed. He seems to be able to always find that limit. And that's why he's got the most World Cup wins of anyone ever, or one of the many reasons he's got the most World Cup wins of anyone ever. So, that's flat cornering in a nutshell. So I demonstrated how to do a loose corner in this deep sand, but many people unfortunately think they can come out here and practice. Well, the problem is, no matter what skill level you're at, whether you're a pro or just learning to ride, everybody, including me demonstrating this, I was really concerned about my own safety. I don't have my elbow pads on, it's really loose, and I'm trying to demonstrate, so I'm not really on my A game, and I was a little concerned here. But what enabled me to do the technique relatively well here was I've spent hours practicing this technique in a paved parking lot where I know the traction is good. I know my bike's not going to slide out. I know that even if the bike does slide out, I'm not going off and going to hit this tree. I'm not going to hit these branches on the side of the trail. I'm not going to impale myself on that cactus, right? It's a much safer environment. And that's where we want to practice. Because our goal in practicing, they used to call it muscle memory. Now the name is procedural memory. It's like a recipe for how to do this corner. The goal for that is to practice it perfectly with zero mistakes until it just becomes what your body does, right? And if you've got an older bad habit, such as leaning with the bike, which takes the weight off the tires, and you go to practice on trail, the old habit is probably the more dominant habit, and it's going to keep interfering with your practice. But if you focus on it and you make sure it's a safe environment, you can get that skill wired. And it's the white matter in your brain, it's called the myelin sheath, that insulates that circuit. And the more you practice it perfectly, the better insulated that circuit is, and the more that circuit is likely to become the dominant circuit. But the more you practice it poorly, the more the poor circuit becomes the dominant circuit. So until doing it correctly is the dominant circuit that's going to fire when you're out in the trail, you're always going to struggle. Even though you understand this, you're like, I watched Gene's video, I completely know what he's talking about. That doesn't matter. That doesn't help you ride better. You've got to get your body to create the right circuits, your body and your brain, not the part of the brain listening to me, but the part of the brain that controls motor function. You've got to get it to create the correct circuit and then make that circuit the dominant circuit, the circuit that just fires. Doesn't matter if you're scared to death or you're not scared at all. It's just the circuit that takes over and fires. That's the goal of practice. So you need to practice this cornering in a nice, smooth parking lot. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot and you're going to use that next time you ride to create a better ride. Don't forget to click that subscribe button because I'm going to just keep putting these videos out with a goal of helping you get a lot better. So hit the subscribe button so you can be tuned in when my next video drops.